Hello there and welcome. So hey, this is the Decision 2021 explanation. It's probably not going to be as good as LeBron James, but that's okay. So many people have asked, why we came back from Texas on such a short notice back to California, which we are in lovely Fullerton, California, and I couldn't be more happy right now with our current location. It is also Autism Awareness Day for the World, so hashtag that, because we do have our middle son, Vincent, who is on the spectrum. So just, again, always embrace people and show love, because what is normal, right? Everyone has strengths that we really want to push forward in life. But getting back to the decision. So why did we choose to originally move to Texas? So we originally moved to Texas so that way I could get into administration quicker as an educator, because although I'm young, I am older in the industry in terms of when I started things from. Sorry, the dogs are going to come up and enjoy this now if you see them. So I wanted to get moving on that quicker. For the last 9 years, I've done the education profession, from everything from substitute teacher to actual social science teacher, business, entrepreneurship teacher, ed tech lead, dean of students on the administration level. And so I've kind of seen it all in that one. Being honest, I had a great time in Compton. I really did. And it was a great atmosphere. It really produced a lot of forward thinking on my end and stuff for me to be able to look towards how we shape education, especially for underserved communities, right, in that one. Switching over to Texas, I was hired for a very different role, dean of students, a little more technologically focused, continuing on my ed tech lead stuff. And when I got there, unfortunately, the new principal, the old principal who hired me left immediately before I even got there. So all the stuff that we had agreed upon was no longer on the table anymore. And that was a little frustrating for me because I had just moved my whole family over there, and that's difficult to deal with. Secondly, in terms of pay, I was never honored my administrative pay. So that was a difficult thing, that I was making almost 30 grand less than what I should have been making in that one. And having a family of 5 with us, that's not fair in the long scheme of things. And something had to change. And for those of you that don't know our story, if you don't know my wife, unfortunately, you haven't met one of the coolest people on earth. But if you have, you understand what I'm talking about. And what it is there is, many of you don't know that for the last probably 14 years of our marriage, 13 years, my wife has always made more money than me. Always. And I love that. And men, if you're single out there, you should date someone who is higher than you. You'll be better off in life. But she's made more than me, hands down, 2-to-1. When I got into education, we knew that there was going to be a significant step back in things. And she worked tirelessly to make sure that my lack of income in the household income, we could survive as a family in that one. And I love her dearly for it, but as educators out there, you do not get compensated, especially at the teacher level in that one. So all the success I had and everything in the classroom, the good things that we did, students know, it was mainly because my wife allowed me to be able to do that, right? So then when I start looking back at things and seeing, is this fair? And many of you know I was stabbed in the neck in 2009, right before I got married, and so that's the scar here. And from that afterwards, I always struggled with survivor's guilt and the fact that I lived where most people die from that type of action, let's be honest. So I really dedicated my life to, I don't want to say feeling sorry, but like I owed something to humanity, like I had to give back in that one. And a lot of times when we say giving back, work at nonprofit, things like that, we tend to focus on the struggling aspect. Now, we're not making as much, we're doing it for the good of humanity. Totally agree with that, which is awesome. The problem, though, is when you have a growing family, I don't know if that's always the best time for that. And I think it can be a little selfish at times, totally, in that one. So I think I was putting my selfish ambitions first in things in terms of what I wanted to accomplish and not looking out what was best for my family in that one. So after the great freeze hit in Houston, luckily our house in Houston was fine. We had a little bit of damage that we had to repair, but really made the decision with my wife and said, hey, look, I don't think you should have this pressure on you anymore. And I can get into other opportunities that will allow our family to flourish, will allow us to do everything that we want to do, plus our growing needs, right, in life with it. And I really sat her down and I wanted her to know that. And again, living in a dual household income where both people are working, I think is always tough. But more importantly, you need to find a balance between it in that one. One person shouldn't always have to be suffering to bring in most of the bacon, if you will. So it's nice to spread that out. So luckily, on April 5th, I'm given an opportunity to work for MHS MHX Logistics. In Los Angeles here. So I'm starting operations, and what I really like about this corporation is that it is a very forward-thinking entity. Their mission and vision is what they live by, with reliability, and they focus on it consistently. Is it solving brain cancer? No. It's logistics, moving product around, right? But many of you took my economics class, you will know that I always preach that when trucks stop moving, our economy stops, right? So without trucks and without logistics, the supply chain, everything that we have in life comes to a halt. So there is some intrinsic value in it. But more importantly, what I'm getting here is I'm getting a lot more growth for my family in that one. And ultimately, you'll know, if you're young, you may not get this. If you're old, you get this, that when your family is happy and your offspring are flourishing, yes, thank you, Winston, things are better for you in that one. So it was the right time to do it. Was it easy? No, it wasn't easy, because like I said, for almost 10 years now, I've dedicated myself to the profession of education. I've seen the highs of it, I've seen the lows of it, and a lot of it I don't like. I'm going to be very honest with you, which is why I'm doing a podcast series, a limited series about education reform and what needs to happen in education, just holistically speaking, right? And how we can accomplish that. I don't think this is me dipping out of education completely. I think I do plan on staying in it at some capacity level, whether it's teaching at a community college level, at night, teaching courses on terrorism, political science, whatnot, or doing online teaching, on my spare time, on stuff that I have a bit more focus, expertise on, to maybe running for school board, doing stuff. So I do want to stay in education, because I do believe that individuals and our youngsters in life need to understand the importance of learning and why it's important to constantly learn every day, right? And unfortunately, our educational system right now, I don't believe, equips us to handle that the best way that we should going forward. But again, ultimately, yes, I know it was a very short 9-month trip to Texas. There was no intention when we initially moved there to ever, that was going to be our home for good. But sometimes many of you have been through situations like this. Tough decisions are tough to make for a reason, right? And it may not be so exciting in the short term, but when you look at long-term success and stability, that really has to become your focus then on that one. We had a beautiful house, as you can see here in Houston, so it pained us, in Katy, pained us to have to sell it, put on the market, and come back to the Southern California market. But again, it ultimately is, we're looking out for the future in that one. So those are it, and I would encourage you to listen to my education podcast. I'm going to kind of go in depth a little bit more about some decisions in that one. But ultimately, I was just in an atmosphere that I wasn't getting what I was supposed to be getting in terms of just the input and output overall, and changes needed to be made immediately for my family, and so we had to make a decision in that one. So luckily, we're back in California now. We're here to stay. My children do not want to move anymore. Moving across the state, let alone just moving down the street, is a lot on a family. So we're staying put for now. So we're going to find every opportunity we can here, move forward. But again, it has been an absolute pleasure. If you're watching this from more of an educational standpoint, it has been a great pleasure of mine, and you'll always have a part of my heart, the time that I got to spend with that. If we're just friends, hey, now you know that we're back in California and enjoying it. But again, I do want to reiterate, this is not me leaving education. This is me shifting in terms of how I do things, because I will be in the professional business world now. So that is very different than education. But again, I don't think education should be stopping, and I don't think it should be limited to the classroom. And that's one of our big problems there, is the opportunities we create for young minds and even for older minds continuing on learning. But again, wonderful 10-minute video, I know, and I'm sure you watched every minute of it. But that's the decision 2021. So again, I'm thrilled and I'm blessed that we're back here. And God provided us the pathway. I do believe in not just coincidences, but things happen for a reason, right? And God, I believe, puts things in your path at times for you to recognize, and you have to be the person that's willing to see that, right? And luckily, I did open, my eyes were open to be able to see it. I do think the storm in Houston kind of helped us see things, but I would like to finish the video off saying that Houston area, greater Houston area, and specifically Katy, where we were at, nothing but wonderful people in Texas that we came across, and just the atmosphere of communal support, neighborly love, all that stuff was out of this world, and I'm definitely going to miss that. It was a wonderful time, and again, I can't thank enough for Texas for having a piece of our life that will stay with us always. Again, that's the decision. Welcome back to California, and I'm pumped for the future.